Hi, this is Christine Rice, and this is my fourth set of book critiques. For my fourth set, I chose to focus on a book called Animal Farm by George Orwell. And technically, it is a traditional fantasy, and it's an animal fable, but it's also an allegorical novel. So I thought this would be great for an older level, maybe high school level, grades 9 through 12, to teach about allegories and the different themes and metaphors and things that are within the novel that can be taken on surface, but can also mean something much deeper, as this book does. So my first content area would be in science, and for my first lesson, I would ask my students to study the different animals that live on a farm, such as in Animal Farm. I would then ask them to specifically study the diets and the eating habits of these different animals. They would then complete an interactive activity that I found online, which studies the diets and the poops of farm animals. So this is a bit of a lower content area for this activity, but it's really fun, and I think it would get the interest of the students. So basically you look at the scat, we'll call it, and you choose an animal. And once you click on it, it will tell you some facts about the diet of that animal. So now it'll tell you about the chicken and says that it likes to feed on grubs, insects, worms, and seeds. And then it has you do interactive things like feed the animal and then learn some more about its diet and its specific life on the farm. So I think that this activity is definitely one that would need to be used on a more mature class. I would have to gauge whether they were mature enough for this activity, but I think it would be really fun for a class that was. So then moving on from this, after completing that activity, I would have them complete a chart of 5 animals and include on the chart one thing that a farmer must do for each animal in order for it to remain happy and healthy. So a big part of Animal Farm, the book, is how the animals kind of go against the farmer himself because they're not being treated correctly. So this would be a great activity for, one, learning about animals and their needs, and two, how they should be treated well on farms and the things that are necessary for a farmer to do in order to keep his farm and keep it well. Here's an artifact of the animal fact sheet that I created. I had 5 facts about different farm animals. My first is that cows must be provided on average 95 pounds of plants and nutrients a day, and they can be fed different types of plants because of their 4-chambered stomachs. So while other farm animals need only specific types of plants or grasses, cows can have many different kinds, and this is important for their diet. Goats should be fed a variety of leaves, twigs, vines, and shrubs. Chickens should be provided not just with seeds, but with grubs, insects, and worms as well. And they should be given small stones because they eat these in order to grind up the food in their stomach. Pigs need to drink 3 to 5 gallons of water per day. So on a good farm, water should be continuously provided for the pigs. And finally, turkeys can survive mostly on seeds, but they also enjoy berries, small reptiles, snails, and slugs. So these are just a few of the things that farmers can do to really take care of their animals and take care of them well, rather than just feeding them the same grass or the same seeds, to give them the different things that their diet enables in order to feed them well and keep them healthy. My second content area lesson plan would take place in social studies. So Animal Farm is an allegorical novel, and it focuses a lot on the socialist movement and the Soviet Union and its leader, Joseph Stalin. So the word socialist stands for a complex and varied set of beliefs, although it's just one word. So I would ask my students to research this word and the movement, and then try to define it in their own words. So this would be done in a paragraph format, and all around this would be more of a paper or an essay type of assignment. So then for the next 2 paragraphs of their essay, I would ask them to research the Soviet Union and its leader Stalin specifically, and write about the war that the U.S. was involved in at this time. And finally, in order to connect to the book, in the remaining 2 paragraphs of their essay, my students would connect these historical events to the book and mention a few scenes or characters who are being satirized in the book. So in order to ask them to delve deeper into the book and to realize the allegorical nature of it, I would ask them to make connections and see which parts mean more than what is said on the surface and some of the historical facts that they relate to. The other books that I included in this book critique are The Outsiders, Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl, Amelia Earhart, The Legend of the Lost Aviator, and Looking at Lincoln. Amelia Earhart is a great book because it's a picture book, but I think it could be used at the 8th to 12th grade level because of the great amount of information it has in it. And pairing this with Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl could say a lot about just female power and how this is very important. And these women were very inspiring and very influential on women in general. And Looking at Lincoln is another picture informational book that I loved because it says so much about Lincoln and his character and has some great quotes that he said in there. And I think it would be great for my students. So this concludes my 4th book critique. Again, I'm Christine. Thank you for listening.